You are lying awake at 2 in the morning, replaying something they said, trying to figure out if it was loving or controlling. Your heart wants so badly for this to be the one. But something in your body will not settle. You pray for clarity and you feel more confused than before. Is this person my soulmate, or is it just a strong attachment? Did God send them, or did my wounds choose them? How do I know the difference between real love and something I just desperately want to be real? If you have been asking yourself these questions, especially after experiencing confusion or pain in past relationships, I want you to know that these are wise questions. You are not overthinking. You are protecting your heart while also staying open. And that takes courage. There is an enemy that disguises itself as destiny. I call it wound-chosen connection. It is when your attachment wounds, not God, pick your partner. And it feels like fate because it feels familiar. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to tell the difference between what your wounds chose and what God designed. You are going to learn 7 clear signs of a God-aligned connection using a framework I call aligned. You will have reflection questions you can use right now to discern whether your current or future relationship is truly from God or just familiar. And you will walk away with more clarity, more peace, and more trust in your own discernment. This is Connect with Care, and today we are talking about how God connects 2 soulmates in a way that is grounded, gentle, and rooted in both faith and emotional health. Let's dive in. Before we get to the 7 signs, we need to reframe what the word soulmate actually means. Because a lot of us have been taught ideas about soulmates that are not only unrealistic, they are actually harmful. A soulmate is not a perfect person who will never hurt you or make mistakes. A soulmate is not one magical person out of billions who is your only shot at love. And a God-aligned soulmate is definitely not someone who uses control, fear, guilt, or isolation to keep you close. Here is a better definition. A soulmate is someone with whom love, truth, peace, and purpose grow over time with God at the center. It is not about fireworks and fate alone. It is about character, safety, mutual growth, and the freedom to be fully yourself while honoring God together. And here is something really important. God does not use abuse, manipulation, or fear as signs of destiny. If someone is harming you and calling it God's will, that is not divine alignment. That is spiritual manipulation. Pause here for just a moment. Place one hand on your heart. Take a slow breath. You are allowed to trust what you feel. You are allowed to question. That is not doubt. That is discernment. Now, before we get to the aligned framework, let's talk about why you might be vulnerable to mistaking harmful for holy. Because understanding this will protect you going forward. If you grew up in an environment where love was unpredictable, sometimes warm and sometimes cold, intensity can feel like intimacy. Drama can feel like depth. A partner who runs hot and cold might trigger the same nervous system patterns you learned as a child. Your body remembers that this is what love felt like. So when someone creates that same chaos, it feels like chemistry. It feels like connection. But it is not. It is repetition. If your faith community taught that suffering in relationships was virtuous, that questioning was doubt, or that leaving was failure, you may have been conditioned to stay in situations God never asked you to endure. You may have been told that your pain was a test. That enduring harm was obedience. That walking away was weakness. And if you learned early on that you had to earn love by being perfect, helpful, or quiet, you might be drawn to partners who withhold approval until you prove yourself over and over again. That is not a soulmate. That is a wound match. Recognizing this is not about blame. It is about understanding why counterfeit connections can feel so convincing, so you can finally recognize the real thing. Now, let's go through the aligned framework. 7 signs of a God-connected relationship. Stay with me because sign 5 is the one that exposes counterfeit connections most clearly. Sign number 1. Atmosphere of peace. When God connects 2 people, one of the clearest signs is a sense of peace that grows over time. Not perfect. Not without conflict, but more calm than crisis, more steadiness than constant drama. You can relax around them. You do not have to walk on eggshells. You do not lie awake replaying every word you said, wondering if they are about to pull away or explode. Arguments happen, yes, but they do not define the relationship. There is a baseline of safety. Here is what this feels like in your body. Moon-chosen connections keep your nervous system on high alert. Scanning, guessing, bracing. God-aligned love lets your body rest. When you are with someone God chose for you, your shoulders drop. Your breath deepens. Your chest feels open instead of tight. Your nervous system can finally exhale. Here is a reflection question for you. Do I feel more calm or more anxious with this person most of the time? If the answer is more anxious, that does not automatically mean it is wrong. But it does mean you need to pay attention and explore why. Sign number 2. L. Living integrity. A God-aligned partner does not just talk about faith or love. They live it. You see kindness in how they treat strangers, waiters, their family, and people who cannot do anything for them. Their actions match their words most of the time. And when they mess up, they own it. Integrity means they do not have one face for church and another face in private. They do not lie easily or manipulate to get their way. They value honesty even when it is uncomfortable. And they care about becoming a better person, not just appearing like one. You should be able to watch how they move through the world and think, yes, this is the kind of character I want to walk with. Not perfect character. Growing character. Here is your reflection question. When I watch how they treat people, do I see the kind of character I want to walk with? If you feel uneasy about how they handle conflict, how they speak about their ex, or how they treat people with less power, listen to that unease. It is data. Sign number 3. I. Independence respected. When God brings two people together, that connection does not shrink your world. It expands it. A soulmate does not isolate you from friends, family, or your faith community. They do not make you choose between them and God. They do not use scripture to control you, guilt you, or pressure you into things that do not feel right. Instead, you feel more free to pray, to seek wise counsel, to grow spiritually. You feel supported in your personal relationship with God, not threatened or monitored. They trust you. They trust God in you. And they give you space to be your own person. If someone uses God's name to manipulate you, to silence your concerns, or to keep you stuck, that is not a soulmate. That is control dressed up in spiritual language. Here is your question. Do I feel more free to seek God or more controlled and cut off? Pause here. If you are realizing that someone has used God's name to control you, that is a heavy recognition. Place a hand on your heart. One slow breath. You are not disobedient for noticing. You are discerning. Sign number 4. G. Growth and accountability. Nobody is perfect. But a God-connected partner is willing to grow. They can say I was wrong. They can say I am sorry and I want to do better. And then they actually try. You see change, not just repeated apologies followed by the same harm. They are open to feedback. They do not get defensive every time you share how something made you feel. They might need a moment to process, yes, but they come back and they work with you. They pray about it. They seek counsel if needed. They take responsibility. And you do the same. Because this is mutual. Both of you are learning, healing, and becoming more like the people God designed you to be. Here is your reflection question. When conflict happens, do we repair and grow, or does the same harm repeat? If the same patterns keep showing up with no real change, that is important to notice. If these signs are giving you clarity and you want weekly faith-aware, trauma-informed support for your relationships, pause and subscribe to Connect with Care. There is more coming that your heart needs. Now let's move to sign 5. This is the one that exposes counterfeit connections most clearly. Sign number 5. N. Nurtured pursuit. In a God-aligned relationship, both people show up. Both people initiate. You are not the only one planning dates, sending texts, trying to keep things alive. There is consistent interest from both sides. You feel chosen. You feel wanted. You do not have to convince them to stay. This does not mean everything is always 50-50 every single day. Life has seasons. But over time, the effort balances out. You are not constantly chasing someone who stays just vague enough to keep you hooked, but never fully commits. God does not play games with your heart, and a partner aligned with God will not either. Here is your question. Do I feel chosen here, or do I feel like I am always trying to earn my place? If you feel like you are auditioning for love, that is not peace. That is not partnership. That is not God's design. Sign number 6. E. Evidence of healthy fruit. Jesus said you will know them by their fruit. And this applies to relationships too. Over months and years, does this connection produce patience, kindness, honesty, and self-respect? Or does it produce fear, shame, confusion, and hiding? A God-connected relationship makes you more yourself, not less. You become braver. You become more honest. You start setting boundaries you could not set before. You laugh more. You feel more alive in a grounded way, not in a chaotic high and low way. Look at the long-term trajectory. Not just one good week or one hard season, but the overall direction. Are the people around you noticing positive changes in you? Are you closer to your values or farther away? Is your relationship with God deeper or more distant? Here is your reflection question. If I look at the last year, am I becoming more myself or less? That question will tell you so much. Sign number 7. D. Divine freedom. This one is critical. In a relationship that God is truly part of, you feel invited, not trapped. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to slow down. You are allowed to have questions or doubts without being shamed, without someone using God as a weapon to guilt you into staying. Real love gives you the freedom to choose. It does not threaten you with spiritual consequences if you need space or if you realize this is not right. A God-aligned partner trusts that if this is meant to be, God will confirm it for both of you. They do not need to force it or manipulate it. If someone tells you that leaving them means disobeying God or that God will punish you if you walk away, please hear me. That is not God. That is control. And God does not operate that way. Here is your question. If I had doubts, would I feel safe to pause or step back without being shamed in God's name? You should be able to answer yes. Now let's talk about discernment. How do you actually figure out if this is a God-connected relationship or something else? Here are 5 simple questions you can journal or pray about. First, when I pray about this person, do I feel peace or pressure? Second, do the people who love me and know God well have concerns, or do they see healthy fruit? Third, am I ignoring red flags because I am afraid of being alone? Fourth, does this relationship bring me closer to God or farther away? And fifth, if I imagine my future self 5 years from now, would she thank me for staying or for leaving? Take your time with these. Let God confirm things through patterns, not just through feelings. Strong feelings can come from trauma bonds, loneliness, or fantasy. God's confirmation usually comes with peace, clarity, and wise counsel from safe people over time. Here is your week to practice discernment. Tonight, journal on one of those 5 questions, whichever one your heart resists most. Tomorrow, notice how your body feels when you think about this person. Tight or open? Chest constricted or breathing easy? This week, ask one trusted person what fruit they see in your relationship. Small clarity builds big confidence. And I need to say this gently but clearly. If you have been in a relationship that felt like destiny but was actually harmful, you did not miss your soulmate. You encountered a counterfeit. Trauma bonds can feel like fate. Manipulation can feel like passion. And spiritual abuse can disguise itself as God's will. Leaving an unsafe relationship does not mean you failed or that you will never find real love. It means you chose your safety, your dignity, and your healing. And God honors that. God cares more about you being whole than about you staying in something that is breaking you. You are not too broken for a healthy, God-connected love. You are not too damaged. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be, and God is not done writing your story. Let's close with one more breath. Hand on your heart. Breathe in slowly. And as you breathe out, say this silently or out loud. I trust what God has for me. One more time. I trust what God has for me. If this video gave you clarity or hope, I would love to hear from you. Write in the comments, I trust what God has for me, or my worth is not up for debate. That one line is a declaration your spirit needs to hear. Let's build a community of people who are learning to discern, to trust themselves, and to wait for what is real. Hit the like button if this resonated with you. Subscribe to Connect with Care for more trauma-informed, faith-aware relationship guidance. And in the next video, we are going to talk about how to rebuild trust in yourself after spiritual manipulation, how to hear God's voice clearly again when someone used his name to confuse you. Subscribe so you do not miss it. You are so loved. You are so seen. And the right love, the God-aligned love, is worth the wait. I will see you in the next video.